All right, we are back from recess. We are back in session for the second half of the budget sessions here. We're going to start with procurement slash GOB. And if this is your first time speaking for the day, I do ask you just state your name and your title, and then we'll toss it over to you all.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. This is Jennifer Miller. I'm the Director of Procurement for the city.
And I'm Michael Lowe. I'm contract specialist.
Good morning to you all. All right, we'll pass it up to you.
Okay, should we start with procurement first?
Yes.
Okay.
Number is that?
16000. If you're looking at the budget analysis report, I think it's on page 7.
If you want.
Yep.
There we go.
Yes.
You just state your name again and your title for the record.
Yeah, Michael Lowe. I'm the contract specialist.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. So for the Department of Procurement, let me just start off with positions. Positions have remained constant since I came on board in 2013. We've always had 4 staff. We continue to do quite well with 4 staff. I have myself, the director, Michael, the contract specialist. We have a buyer and an office administrator. So no changes there. For the most part, I've requested a level budget with the exception of 3 particular items. So I'll call your attention to 513,400, that's consulting fees. I did ask for an extra $5,000 in this account. What that is for, so Maryland is implementing the Building Energy Performance Standards as required under the Climate Solutions Now Act of 2022. This goal is for covered buildings to efficiently achieve net zero direct greenhouse gas emissions by 2040. And as you can imagine, there's reporting that needs to be done for the state. Buildings that are covered by this regulation and need to comply are 35,000 square feet or larger, excluding any parking garage areas. And then owners, such as the city, which would be like the police department building, okay? Owners of covered buildings under the regulation are required to annually report their energy use and emissions. This is Energy Star performance monitoring and reporting. It's a website, Building Energy Performance Standards. We're asking that our energy consultant do that reporting for the city. It's quite complex.
I remember discussing this a few months ago at a Greater Salisbury committee meeting about, yes, and so I think it's multifamily, it's commercial, it's all of the sorts. So, okay, well, thank you for that. And I'm assuming that, is this to help you track that?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yep. It's all the required reporting.
Okay. All right.
Yep. So that's the one change. The second change for me is in 546006, which is our operating account for procurement. I am asking for an additional $3,000 there. That's the account that funds any overages for me. For the last 3 years, we've had a shortfall in salaries and benefits. And for a small department like mine, when I have a $7,000 or a $5,000 shortfall, it's almost impossible for me to pull it out of another line item. So in FY23, we had a $7,600 shortfall. In FY24, we had a $4,400 shortfall. And in FY25, it's projected that we will have an almost $5,000 shortfall. So we needed additional funding there in operating.
Got it cleaned up now.
You know where I was going.
Yeah.
I was going to ask.
The complexity is every time with a small department that doesn't have a lot of flexibility, if someone changes the health insurance plan or something happens, it can fluctuate by a few $1,000.
Or if someone retires. I think
Yeah, so it's a very small department.
Yeah.
They're not combined with
I have no fat in my budget.
Okay.
So
All right.
there's no other lines to pull it from.
And we'll be the judge of that.
Keep everything the same. No. Change. Okay, that makes sense. I was going to ask further why, but okay. Well, that's good. Do you think this, for this fiscal year, you've already managed the complexity and the transfer, and then
We will, yes.
For next fiscal year, you are anticipating that the 6,000 should be enough to cushion your
Yes.
budget. Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Thank you. And then one other item in 546029, that's computer software. I requested an additional $5,000 there for document automation software. I think this will be very helpful for developing contracts, building contracts. What this does, it's software that converts standard documents into templates. The users, such as ourselves, are sort of interviewed. We get an interview, a set of questions, and then it provides this specific information, drops it into the template. It's something that's used by, say, legal firms quite often.
Yeah, that can save you a lot of man hours. I know we were discussing about different, when you will put things out to bid, I believe. So I remember you discussing at a council meeting about you will have to go in and literally build out these templates. So that's
Yes.
it's going to save you a lot of man hours, and so you can,
We believe so. And
Yes.
instead of searching through a 5-page, a 10-page, a 20-page document to change certain items throughout the document, it will just ask us simply to input those things all in, say, one sheet. Again, it's sort
wow.
of interview questions, they call them.
good.
Yeah. So that's the only changes for procurement.
I appreciate that. One, I'll always, tout the Department of Procurement, the organization, and you all are always, you always answer the questions that we always have, or that at least that I always have. So I appreciate the organization and for anticipating what we were going to ask, because those were going to be my questions I was going to ask you all was what those expenditures and the increases were there. Council, any questions about the particular budget here? No.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, and then we have one more.
Yep, you do.
It's the government office building. So the government office building, I think this may have started last year, the year before. There's only a few accounts that are mine, I will say mine, for this particular building. So the city of Salisbury shares in the operation and maintenance, it's operational expenditures with the county. We pay 1/2 of the expenditures, they pay 1/2 of the expenditures.
Just talking about that.
I'm sorry, which number?
GOB,
I'm
yes.
so sorry. Yep.
19, yes.
I am so sorry
I'm on-
about that.
It's labeled municipal buildings, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
It's 19500.
Yep, no worries.
Yep. And so,
Just wasn't sure if that was the one.
yep.
Just want to make sure.
And all right. So you see the ones that have the third set of numbers, the 90560s. Those are not mine. Those are relative to the headquarters building. So I'm going to be talking about the ones that don't have that third set of numbers with them.
And I can chat about the other ones.
So we pay half of the expenses of this particular building. That is maintenance services, maintenance supplies, security, janitorial, water, electricity for the building. I did request a level budget this year. I do have 2 items in the CIP for this year. One was the exterior waterproofing and window replacement. We did get $175,000 in the last budget for that. I had requested another 25. That looks like it would be unfunded. We'll proceed with the 175 and see how that goes. It's primarily on the west wall of this building that water is infiltrating through into, say, the window areas on the west wall. The other CIP item that I requested was the replacement of the HVAC chiller. I will say that in 2023, the city and county, we replaced the air handling unit. And then in 2024, the return air fans were replaced. So now we're looking to replace the chiller. It is approximately 15 to 20 years old.
A question for you, Ms. Miller. With this building here, do you know I know that we just split the cost down the middle, but is it pretty with the uses in the office space? Is it pretty half and half as far as?
I might actually have that with me. I think the city has just a little bit less square footage in total, but very
frequenting this building, I just want to, I've seen the offices, but it was a question in my mind of, is it pretty?
We have 45%.
We could take over another.
Yeah, we need to ask them for another 5%. No. Oof. Okay, and then the 558700 existing lease, what is that?
That is for what we call the ESG agreement. It was an energy savings. Oh boy, this is old. Energy savings. It was something that the county did years ago, and I can't even remember at this point what they wound up buying with it. It might have been mechanicals in the basement. Could go back 15 or more years. We reached a settlement with the county maybe back in 2017 this is part of recouping what they felt that the city should have paid for this expense.
I'll keep that.
Only 45%.
Yeah. 45, yeah.
I think FY26 is the last year for it, I believe.
Okay.
Oh, thank you,
This may be
Sandy.
the-
Thank you, Sandy.
Yeah, I highlighted it. I was like, what is existing lease? It just, okay,
I
thank
think
you.
it was also the chiller back then too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it
bless.
had to do with the mechanicals in
Okay.
the basement.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Yeah.
Council, any other questions about GOB?
No, I just had a question about that line too. I wasn't sure what that was either, so.
Do you want me to hit on those other?
If you could, yep.
Real quick. So the delta is about a $4,500 increase. One is under rent. So for HQ, we pay a recurring lease for the first 5 years. So we're in year 3 of that same flat rate. And then with it being triple net, we have to pay the taxes, city and county taxes. There has been a reduction because of the enterprise zone tax credit had existed on that building. That continues to get phased out. And I think last year was the final year. So that's the $3,000 increase because now we have to pay full taxes for both of those. And then electricity across the board, there was an electricity increase that we thought. But
It's the buildings line item.
Say that one more time.
554402, what's that line item? Buildings.
That is essentially Let me get back to you on
Sure,
that
that's
one. I forget exactly.
Okay.
It's almost like our operating account. I think it's where we pay a lot of our recurring items in there. That's not janitorial. I can get you a breakdown of all that stuff.
And so, just, in my, okay, hold on, I want to go back and make sure. The building, so GOB, where is GOB specifically, Ms. Miller? The actual, the payment that we get to, is that rent? Yes. 554400? No, that's for HQ.
Q, I think, is it?
We don't pay any rent or anything for this building. We own it. We own
So we just pay the operational cost.
Here, yes. Yeah.
And what? So then, buildings.
My buildings is 534301.
What is
That's pretty much all the operational expenses.
Okay.
Maintenance supplies,
security.
janitorial. Now I put security in. I think it's the 546006.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So operating, is that what we give
Yeah.
to the county, the 47.5?
I'm sorry.
What are the funds? So what's the line item that we give to the county? The 50?
There's a couple of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the first one is 534301.
Okay.
Okay. The next one is 546006. 555010. And 558700. So the first one, which is the 534301 buildings, that's where the majority of the shared expenses are paid out of for this particular building. For 546006, which is an operating account, that's the account that pays the security for this building, like at the desk
Gotcha.
downstairs.
So I'm seeing for GOB, it's my quick math, 210, 215, 220. And then HQ, it looks like 110, 3. You're looking at just shy of 150, maybe a little bit over. So we're,
For me, it's 215.
okay. So,
215,
Yep.
302.
Cool. Okay. And so we're at, almost $400,000 for buildings. What I'm asking is with HQ, I know that was a lease that we procured out. Do we see that as us continuing at that I know that it has a ramp up period and now we're paying the taxes on that. Are we going to continue with that? Who's housed there? What's that?
Sure. I think when we made the decision to occupy that space a couple years ago, we realized we were out of space in the GOB from an expansion standpoint. So we did consolidate mayor's office, clerk's office, council, and arts, business, and culture. I moved out of the visitor center, consolidated over there. We do have 2 other facilities in general government. You have the housing and community development offices that we pay leases on, and then you have information services who has their own building off of Church Street that we don't pay rent for. We own that building, but there's utilities, et cetera, with that. We have a 15-year lease. I don't see us consolidate.
With HQ?
Yes. So there will need to be, there's got to be a decision point at some point in the long term, if that is a purchase, if that is an ongoing lease. There's not room here in this building. There had been some initial conversations with the executive as they're trying to figure out what their future will ultimately be as they have maxed out their space. They're still trying to figure out what that long-term thing is. So I think there will be a conversation on who occupies the GOB in totality in the next 3 to 5 years. So there may be opportunities to consolidate again. And I know we've had some additional conversations on spacing needs.
Yeah, we did. And just to underscore, 554400, that is for Salisbury HQ, not just, that is for, that's,
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
The 110,000
Yes.
Yep.
is 100% for
not just
each.
ABCD, not just mayor's office, not just clerk's office. That is for HQ.
That is for that. That is, yes, that 110 includes the annual lease payment, which is $9,000 per month.
Yep.
And then the taxes associated with that property, with city and county taxes, based off the type of lease agreement we have. You had also asked about buildings. Buildings is for our security systems and our fiber connections and communications. So that's the 27,500.
So, okay.
I'm wondering how we can get the number on all the county taxes that the city occupies. Like, you want to talk about differential tax? I would like to know how much we pay the county in taxes for our properties.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, so if we own it, it's zero. But since, interestingly, when we lease things or rent things, if they're based off of our relationship with the landlord, it's typically a triple net. So they pass on their costs that they have to as the property owner onto us. So utility bills as well as typically taxes. So
We have our own insurance.
yeah, our own insurance. We did not have to double dip on the insurance process, but I think we pay county taxes in the relationship that we have with housing community development and that rent number, and then the HQ building.
So what is that rent number and how many offices are there? I'm just wondering, HQ is that's 10 grand a month, and then what's the HCDD? What's that space? Which I don't even remember that being on the.
It's underneath rent. If you kind of look at it, it doesn't.
Oh, so it's all in. Oh, you mean under HCDD? Sorry, Miss Miller. But when we talk about. So community.
Anything the county or the city owns, we don't pay taxes either way.
So they're
Because Gillis owns it, they gotta pay taxes, we gotta pay it for them.
$33,100
A year?
is what is in the housing community development when we say rent. That is what their number is, and I think
good
that
number.
includes, I think it's around
Yeah, 27.
2,500 per month plus then some tax stuff. So I can get the whole breakdown of that. But
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So we own, on Main Street, that's one of ours, correct? And then the IT on Church Street. And then this building. And then headquarters, we are,
Leasing.
okay, who are we leasing that from?
Devrico is the owners of that building.
That's one we owned first and then sold, and then now we rent. Is that correct?
Yes, Councilwoman Deschelle, that is correct.
You're trying to make that painful.
Just checking.
Understand.
Devcro. Yeah. We also, that's HCDD too. We rent from them as well.
Yeah, I think it's the same landlord
Yeah.
for that building as well on Main Street.
Okay. Council, any other questions on?
I just have one more comment since we still have Jennifer here. Part of, she mentioned in her presentation was consulting, and we do work with CQI, Richard Anderson, who helps us with all of our energy decision points, performance measures. He also helps us when we negotiated our renewal contract for our energy. And yesterday we had great news that we found out. We had budgeted a significant increase of about $600,000 to our electricity, thinking we were coming around 10 cents per kilowatt. We ended up favorably coming in at 8.1 cents, so it saved us about $445,000.
Yeah.
So when you see our summary sheet, we will have a little bit of flexibility that we can reduce. Most of that will be, it's about 50-50 on water and sewer and general fund, but that is some found savings that we inked the contract yesterday on. So,
Wow.
you're
I do have a
welcome.
question for you since you were here.
Okay.
So for these agreements, what is it just like the city of Salisbury agrees, has like signs the agreements for these spaces, so for the leases, so for the rentals, for any of the buildings, is it just city of Salisbury?
Yes.
Okay, and it's a weird question I'm going to ask.
Who signs those?
Yes, who is the city of Salisbury? Who, yes.
I would have to go back to look at the agreements to see who signed them.
Yes.
If it was the mayor or if it was the city administrator.
Okay. Someone over there.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Typically, it's us. I don't know if it's Jennifer usually signs a lot of other contracts, but when it talks about property and rentals and leases, the
Yeah.
agreements usually come from an administrative
Gotcha.
act.
Cool. All right. I don't have any other questions, Council. Thank you all, and thank you for the work you do.
Thank you,
Yes.
Council.
Yes, the mighty four. We appreciate you.